6:01.
All righty. All right, friends, I just got a puppy. I adopted a puppy a week ago.
Oh,
So you will hear him.
what kind?
He's a black lab puppy.
Oh my God, how adorable.
You'll see him by the end of this, I'm sure.
I look forward to it.
Anyways, if I drop off, I'm with you, but I'm probably being clobbered. Anyway, so welcome to the Gloucester Conservation Commission meeting, Wednesday, December 16th, 2020. The time is 6:01 p.m. Consistent with the governor's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and banning gatherings of more than 25 people, this meeting will be conducted by remote participation to the greatest extent possible. The public may not physically attend this meeting, but every effort will be made to allow the public to view and listen to the meeting in real time. Persons who wish to do so are invited to view the meeting at the link provided at the City of Gloucester Remote Meetings website under the Conservation Commission meeting of December 16. In the event that a live transmission proves unworkable for any reason, an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of the meeting will be made available on the city's website as soon as possible. With that, I'll do a roll call for commissioners. Commissioner Charpentier?
Here.
Commissioner Cook?
Here.
Commissioner Gradwell?
Here.
Co-chairwoman Jackson?
Here.
And co-chairman Gullah.
Rob, you're muted.
Still muted.
I'm back.
Welcome back.
Thank you
He's
for
here.
that.
And I will hand it over to you with that.
Thank you. First up is our administrative briefing section. Do you have anything you wish to tell us about, Adrian, at this point?
Yeah, I did want to bring up to you the 2021 meeting schedule and deadline schedule. This is a standard meeting and deadline schedule for the Conservation Commission. The first and third Wednesdays of every month. We typically take the week of the 4th of July off in the middle of the year. I did put in, just for reference for everybody, a gray bar where there are 5 Wednesdays in a given month, just to show that there's an extra week off here and here in March and September. I think it's helpful for me at least to know when those happen. And then the other piece is that I changed the continue business submission deadline to the Wednesday before, or the Thursday before a meeting. Noontime would be the deadline, which means that if people are submitting documents on Friday morning, they will not make the meeting deadline for the upcoming Wednesday meeting. This may take a little bit of time to roll out. We always try to do the best we can because we want to still give applicants the opportunity to keep their hearing moving forward and not force them to default into a continuance for the next meeting. But overall, it's important that we are trying to fill the administrative records for the meeting folders on the Google Drive for commissioners to review as early as possible. So at least setting that, drawing that line in the sand gives us an opportunity to try and enforce it a little bit and hopefully put all of our documentation in place in time for all of you to review before a meeting. Any thoughts on the schedule?
Looks good, but do we have to adopt it? If so,
Yeah.
we probably let
You
everyone
do have to
review it.
approve it, right?
Okay, so I would give us a couple weeks to review it, see if anyone sees any issues with holidays or whatnot. I doubt it, but I would bring it up at the next meeting and we'll vote on it. Is this on the Google Drive?
It has been on the drive, yep.
Okay.
Yep, so you actually are going to have to vote on it tonight to be able to have a January meeting.
I guess so. That answers that question.
Yeah.
I appreciate you taking off the second meeting in September, or moving the second meeting in September.
Okay.
Okay, I will move to adopt the 2021 meeting schedule with the associated deadlines.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes, my audio
You're breaking up.
is picking up. I don't know if anybody else's is.
Yeah, no, you're okay still. Co-Chairwoman Jackson
Yes.
and Chairman Gullar.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next is the public comment period of the meeting. This is the period where people are welcome to speak towards conservation issues that are not on tonight's agenda. If there's anybody out there who wishes to speak about conservation issues, may do so now by raising your hand with the raise your hand feature, or if you're on a phone or other apparatus, it would be *9, I believe.
There are actually 26 attendees on the meeting tonight, but I do not see anyone raising their hand for public comment.
Okay. Next up then, if there's no public comment, I'll move, seeing none, hearing none, I'll close the public comment period. Next up is our minutes review and approval. We haven't done this for a while, so we'll do these one at a time. So I've read the June 3rd minutes. I don't know if you want to, how you want to handle this, just go through a roll call, see if there's any comments.
Sure, comments on minutes from June 3rd. Commissioner Charpentier,
No comments.
Commissioner Cook,
No comments.
Commissioner Gradwell,
No comment.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
No comment?
and Co-Chairman Gullar.
No comment.
Very good.
So Ann Joe, if you want to move that.
Yes. Commissioner Jackson moves to accept the minutes, to approve the minutes of June 3rd, 2020 as presented.
Thank you.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullar.
Yes.
Thank you.
The next set of minutes is June 17th, 2020. Again, Adrian, maybe we should do roll call comments with the commissioners.
Sure, for comments, Commissioner Charpentier,
No comments.
Commissioner Cook,
No comments.
Commissioner Gradwell,
No comment.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
No comment?
and Co-Chairman Gullar.
No comment.
Thank you.
And Joe?
I'm sorry. Commissioner Jackson moves to accept the minutes, to approve the minutes of June 17th, 2020 as presented.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes.
yes, thank you. Co-Chairwoman Jackson
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullar.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next up is minutes for July 15th, 2020. Again, Adrian, can we do roll call comments?
For comments, Commissioner Charpentier,
No comments.
Commissioner Cook,
Yeah, I wasn't at this meeting, so I'll be abstaining.
Commissioner Gradwell,
No comment.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
No comment?
and Co-Chairman Gullar.
No comment.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jackson moves to approve the minutes of July 15th, 2020 as presented.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call vote, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Abstaining.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullar.
Yes.
Thank you.
And for the record, Bill Cook was quiet, but he abstained.
We did abstain.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is continued business. Notice of intent, 28-2743, 6 Pirates Lane, Reed's Wharf Marina, Inc., Mike Faherty, applicant. Name and address for the record, sir?
Michael Faherty, 45 Rocky Neck Avenue, Gloucester. At the last meeting, I presented a narrative and went through a planting plan that had been requested by Ms. Jackson. I think the board was satisfied. There were some questions concerning whether there were alternative ways to diminish the sound, but none are really practical given the source of the sound being more than 35 feet off the ground is my next door neighbor. So we were waiting for the number to be assigned by DEP, and I didn't think there was anything else on the agenda for tonight.
I would concur with that statement. So I would do roll call comments for commissioners. Adrian, on this project? Nope. Did we lose her?
Hold on, I'm here.
Nope.
I have a guy. I just have this little guy. Comments. Commissioner Charpentier,
No comments.
Commissioner Cook,
No comments.
Commissioner Gradwell,
No comment.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
No comment.
and Co-Chairman Gullo.
No comment.
Thank you.
So with that, and Joe, do you want to make a motion to close the hearing?
Yes, thank you. Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for NOI 0282743, 6 Pirates Lane.
Charpentier seconds.
Roll call vote, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullo.
Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jackson moves to approve the project for NOI 0282743, 6 Pirates Lane as presented and as discussed.
Charpentier seconds.
In a roll call vote, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullo.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're all set, sir.
Okay, Adrian, I want to stay on to listen to, but not speak at any of the following hearings. So can you just mute me? So how would we do this? I'm not going to be speaking. I just want to listen.
That's okay. I'll mute you. That's fine.
Okay, next up. Notice of intent 28-2708, 125 Eastern Point Boulevard. Grant being the applicant, I believe, Varshak from Hancock Associates representing.
You're muted, sir.
Still muted.
Press your space bar.
Me now? Can you
Yep.
hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Perfect.
Name and address for the record?
I'm sorry?
Name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, Vashek Talako, Hancock Engineering. I'm here to represent Kyle, Grant, and the Eastern Point Yacht Club in this matter. As you know, we met some time ago, and because the yacht club is kind of run by a commission, it took a while for them to hire structural engineer as the Conservation Commission expected at the last meeting. And so that has been done, and we submitted through Collins Engineering extensive structural plans, which were attached to the information that we submitted. I'll start with the cover letter. So we submitted a cover letter which basically tells you the 3 items that we submitted, which is the revised site plan, Hancock site plan, then the structural design by Collins Engineering, and also a construction sequence that we had a contractor, Carter Roberts, prepare. So now if I go to start with the plan, the permit site plan, as you can see, we added several items. As the commission requested, we show a I guess a roadway, I could call it, that will be used to bring the materials and to remove the materials from the site. All the parking will happen in the parking space, the existing parking spaces north and east of the club building. Then we also show an area where there will be a storage, which is basically north of the existing pool. That's where the storage will be. We also are proposing that the mortar will be mixed at where it says number 12. There's a diamond with number 12. That's where the mortar will be mixed. That will be used for repointing the seawalls. And one of the biggest changes on this plan from a design point of view is that we will not put in any catch basins or discharges. We will basically continue the drainage there the way it does currently. In other words, any kind of splashover just drains off the land back into the ocean, just like it does anywhere where there is a splashover along the coast. And then we come to the structural plans. These are, there are several sheets that show all the structural details. So it starts out with notes, then there are some photographs. I'm not sure how many of you have gone out there, but it basically shows the area that's going to be most of the work done on, the heavy work. So you can see the gangway that's going to be get a new anchor. Then next to it is the walk that's going to have to be removed and replaced, in which the gangway will be anchored. Then there is few pictures of the seawall just under the gangway that's going to be repointed. In this case, in this part will be replaced, but some of it will be repointed. And then there is few pictures of the wall below the walkway, where the walkway will be removed and then replaced as specified on the drawings. Then there's another picture of the walkway sort of towards the water. And then there is just a detail of the current anchor of the gangway. Any questions on those?
Is that your complete presentation or?
No, it isn't. I'm just asking. No, it isn't.
Well, most of us are making notes as we go, so you can just keep pushing through, I think.
Okay, so then the next sheet, which is sheet 4 or 5, basically shows an overall view on the left-hand side of what's going to be removed and replaced. And then it continues showing sections of the removal and some structural details of the attachments, and another section sort of in a direction 90 degrees to the first section. And continuing on, there is the repair plan, what's going to be put in, which is basically essentially the same as what is there now. And then there are some detail of the crushed stone and the seawall locations. There are a couple of sections of that just to illustrate how it's going to be done, how the walls will be replaced and the walls that hold back the lawn area will be constructed on concrete footings and then stone walls. As you can see, the walls are essentially concrete and then have a stone facing.
Understood.
And then the final, and that's it. That's it. I guess I have another copy of the our plan at the end.
Right.
Then the sequence. So there are basically two main sort of tasks here. One is the walkway and the gangway anchor, which there are, sort of 8 items or 9 items how it's going to be done. There's of course mobilization. Then there's going to have to be a meeting with Adrian to go to have a pre-construction walk through, when sort of to discuss in the field that everything is ready. And then they will remove the topsoil in the state and prepare the staging area. Remove the existing walkway to bedrock, install new gangway anchor and seawall. Any underground infrastructure, which basically is hardly any except a drain behind the seawall in one of the retaining walls. Then backfill and grade everything, remove, spread loam and seed in the lawn areas, and install concrete walkway and demobilize and clean up. And then, of course, there is the seawall repair, where I showed where it's going to be staged, and then it will be mixed. The mortar will be mixed and prepared and transported by bucket to workers on seawall during repairs. I think it's fairly straightforward. You can see that we propose to put in some erosion barriers around the mixing area and along the uphill of the seawall that holds off the lawn in the other lawn area near the flag. Final erosion control area is along the fence of the pool where the mixing is, where the storage of the material will be, and also to protect from any runoff from the construction equipment running up and down the access road. That is the end of my presentation.
Thank you, sir. I guess off the top, my first question would be is, in your opinion, and well, not your opinion, but what areas would you say is the work going to be dictated by tides? Or is all this going to be able to be done between tides?
I think the removal will be somewhat dictated by tides.
Okay.
The initial demolition, and then once the stone is put in below where the sidewalk is and where the concrete anchor is done for the gangway, that should be all above tide by then, above regular tides.
Okay.
And some of the repointing may have some splash, but if you look at the pictures, a lot of that stuff isn't really, most of the wall, you know, if you look at the seaweed and the color of it, yeah, when you look at the picture that says site elevation looking south, you can see that the first course of the stone is probably gets some splash over, but the rest of it doesn't really see much water at regular tides.
I'm just a little concerned, not great concern. It seems like a pretty well thought out plan. There is rockweed out there and some other plant life on the bank there that I don't know if we can protect any more than you are now, but it's tight to say the least. But
No, there is no question that it's tight, but the good thing, one good thing is that it's not a big enough job that it's not gonna take very long.
okay. So a boom or anything wouldn't be very realistic or helpful in this manner. Maybe that's more of a question for you, Adrian.
Well, if I may say something, it's not
Yep.
like there is going to be any floatables being discharged from this construction. If there is any kind of gravel or rock that falls over, that's all gonna sink. I don't see how boom's gonna really help with that.
Well, I was thinking a boom with a skirt, but I don't know if the skirt would help with turbidity or do anything else. Probably not.
I see your point, and I definitely think that there is some value in the idea of at least a tide restriction. And maybe even a time of year restriction, just because of the location of the yacht club. It's a really sensitive area, and I think I'm just looking at this really quickly. It's a 15-foot elevation for the flood, and I mean that is the entirety of the.
That's the 100-year
Right.
floodplain, though.
I mean, yeah, but we're also coming into the winter, and so
We're not gonna do it. We're not gonna do it this winter.
Yeah, I think that.
that would,
the commission
no.
Consider setting a timeline around when it might be most appropriate to try to do that work in fair weather and low tides is
Yes,
definitely.
the idea, I wish
Um,
Cara was here.
I'm not totally opposed to the idea of considering a boom too, because again, when you talk about gravel and things traveling into the resource area, that is exactly what we're trying to avoid here is erosion and sedimentation into the resource area. So, point taken, Chairman Gullah, and I do think there are some things that the commission can try to do to be preventative and careful about how the seawall work is done in this particular location.
Okay. Why don't you do roll call comments for the rest of the commission and see if they have anything to add?
For comments, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yeah, my only comment is I don't agree with the boom. Again, if there were going to be oil and floatable, as Black just said, if it's going to be floatables, that's my only comment. I think the project is pretty well, it's very well laid out. And I guess what I would want to know is what's the time of the year that this is planned for?
If I may, obviously, the high time for the yacht club is between Memorial Day to Labor Day, right?
Right.
So it's,
outside
they
of that.
wouldn't like to do it in that area. I think, and I don't know this for sure, but what's been talked about to get the gangway done before Memorial Day, not this fall, but sometimes in late spring. And then the wall would probably be done after Labor Day.
Mhm.
That's the current plan.
Thank
Well,
you.
I don't have a problem so much with the gangway. That would be coming into our lower tide cycles. Storms are less prevalent. I would be more nervous about the next phase being in the fall, where we hit our astronomical high tides for that kind of work. That could be a little tricky. But that's me. I'm sorry, actually, I jumped in on Linda, this was your comments.
No,
period.
that's fine. I'm done.
Sorry about that.
You
All
go
right,
right ahead.
I'll go
Continue
forward
on.
here. And just to the applicant's representative, I would like to go through all of the commissioner comments and you can respond to the whole at the end.
Excuse me. Okay.
Yeah, just for time's sake.
Sure.
Commissioner Cook.
Yeah, my only concern is with the timing on this, especially the part just prior to removing the walkway. Because the plan is to excavate all the topsoil and everything above the walkway area. So if we're doing that early in the spring and we get, it's all going to be tore up at that point in time. And if we're expecting heavy rains or something, I'm just a little bit concerned about the timing on that, how long it's going to take to do it. Because that whole area is going to be ripped up. If we get heavy rains or we get a storm coming in, there's a lot of loose soil and stuff that's going to be able to wash down into the resource area.
Agreed.
And I'm not sure, how to peg a time for that, but that's a concern I have.
Okay. Commissioner Gradwell,
No comment.
Co-chairwoman Jackson,
No comments beyond what I've heard.
and co-chairman Gullah following.
Follow up to basically wrap everything up. I don't know how we do this. I mean, otherwise the project is the everything behind, so to speak, is fine. But right along the wall there, the connection of the ramp, gangway, and as Commissioner Cook mentioned, the removal of that side walkway and those loose soils, it's a little disconcerting to us. So two things we would like to recommend is one, I don't know, I did read your construction sequence and there was a fair amount of information asking about now. So I don't know how you make the commission, seems like we need to come up with a day or time of year that works best for the environment and the applicant if we want to be nice, try and work together here. maybe there isn't a boom, but maybe there is some other mechanism to manage that soils. Once those soils slide in a storm, it's really hard to pick it out later. So that's it seems like that's all the commissioners are really pointing towards right now. So I don't know if you have any ideas on that. I don't know if you want to continue to review in the
So-
next meeting concepts for protection.
One thing, Rob, if I'd like to point out, now that sequence starts right after Adrian does her walkthrough. So
Mhm.
perhaps with our concern about the weather and that, if Adrian can
Flip that.
keep an eye on the weather, then we can control when that work's going to take place. I mean, they can give it to us in broad strokes, approximately when they want to do it, but they can't start it until she does her walkthrough. And if we've got heavy, rains or, the forecast isn't looking too good, then she doesn't have to give them the go ahead.
If I can,
Could I just say something? I think maybe what we need to do is to hear from the applicant for this phase of the project, from start to finish. Is this going to be a 3-day project, a 2-week project? Assuming you're working all day long. So maybe the whole thing about a storm could be moot. I mean, people are not going to plan projects like this, in the midst of storms. So maybe we should get that information and then see how that factors into these concerns.
now, we talked about it somewhat, and Carter Roberts thought that you probably need, 1 day to mobilize, which means basically put in the access road. And of course, the access road is really, that's something that could contribute some runoff and some silt and stuff. That's why we have that long barrier there. Plus, beyond that is fence and a pool. So that there is basically quite a bit of protection from that. Then I would say it will take probably 2 days to demolish everything. And then very quickly they are going to clean it up, put in the stone, and then attach the walls and sidewalk. There's going to have to be some ledge drilling to anchor the seawall part of it, right? And I suppose that could be the point at which a little bit of ground up rock could wash into the ocean, right? Because you drill, you grind some up. But I think it would be such a minuscule amount that I am not really sure how we would even capture that. And then it would be just pouring concrete, etc. Which then is, putting in crushed stone, which is then not gonna go anywhere, and pouring concrete and constructing a wall and then putting in the stone facing, none of which will really create any silt.
Okay. I don't know, Adrian, if you have anything left to add to this. I mean, I'm thinking, again, the timetable would be good. We do that regularly on projects. I think if it's that quick, the earlier the better still. So if it pushed in, a week in Memorial Day and maybe a week on Labor Day, just to keep the tide cycles at their lowest, I can't see, the project sounds like, at least the first phase, that it's not going to take more than a week or two.
Right.
So I think we could push it into the early, just after, before and after Memorial Day, and the same at Labor Day, before and after, split it if it's a 2-week process. This way we're protecting the environment the best we can with the tide cycles. But what do you think, Adrian?
Yeah, I
Make
think
sense?
it's fine to say the work can only be conducted between April 15th and October 15th. And
Okay.
then, if the yacht club wants to do the work outside of their high season business time, then that's their prerogative to decide. What I think is most important for me is that, one, they're not keeping machinery on the site because of inclement weather, because that is always a recipe for disasters, stockpiling materials, just waiting on something. And two, that we're beyond the frost period, because if there is an issue where the soils are moving around or we have sedimentation, we want to be able to stabilize that immediately. And we want things to be able to be hydroseeded as quickly as possible.
Right.
I do think, obviously, if the yacht club is looking to do the work before they're opening for their 2021 season, then certainly any work that is coming in before Memorial Day is going to be completed as quickly as possible, because they don't want the open construction on the site at that time. But then that kind of leaves the other end of it fairly open for as long as the weather is good enough to pour concrete. And as you can see, based on these agendas here, it seems that everybody's totally prepared to pour concrete all winter long. So, you know, just putting a backstop on that at the end of it to say, listen, if you don't have your project lined up between Labor Day and October 15th, then you're looking at the next spring for the other half of the job.
Agreed.
Yeah, and the other
Are you
half
okay
of the
with that,
job is,
Darshak?
I beg your pardon?
Are you okay with that timetable?
Yeah, I mean, because the after Labor Day work will be just the repointing of the walls, and it's not like we're gonna repoint every inch of that wall. It's gonna basically be done as needed, you know, which is hard for me to show on a plan.
Okay, understood. Did we have any other conditions we want to add, commissioners? I don't know if we want to do another roll call comment. I'm not hearing anyone, so. Or do we just want to vote one way or the other?
I think we can go to a motion at this point.
Okay, so first we got to
So-
move to close the hearing.
Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for NOI 0282708, 125 Eastern Point Boulevard.
Charpentier seconds?
Roll call vote, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes,
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner
we-
Jackson moves to approve the project for NOI 0282708 at 125 Eastern Point Boulevard as presented and discussed.
Charpentier seconds?
And a roll call vote, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
yes,
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes, with discussion, I just, again, we want to adopt those timetables we discussed. I would also suggest the photograph work be done of the entire site area prior to construction for each set part of the construction. And yes,
That's fair.
Okay,
excellent. With that, then you're all set, sir.
Thank you very much,
Have a good night.
and Merry Christmas to everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Next up, notice of intent 28-2732, 28 King Philip Road, Surratt, Bill Manuel, Wetlands and Land Management representing.
Good evening, Bill Manuel, Wetlands and Land Management, Danvers, Mass. And I just want to pick up from where we left off at the last meeting. First of all, we convened a site walk with the Shellfish Constable. And we corrected a lot of misinformation that he had heard and received from various sources. And we were able to have a very good productive meeting with the Shellfish Constable on site. And as a result of that, we tweaked the plan just a little bit. We have clarified the length of the pier. There was a small discrepancy between my narrative and the plan. The pier is 66.5 feet long now, and we'll have a set of steps at the King Philip Road edge to get up to the height of the pier. You can see out at the very end at the seaward side, we show we pulled the outer two piles back so that they are now going to rest on boulders that are on a stone wall that crosses the marsh at that point. And those will be, bolted onto existing boulders. So we've pulled everything out of the land containing shellfish. Beyond that wall is really where the mud flat starts, and Mr. Seminaro indicated that that's where his jurisdiction was, at the mud flat. So we've pulled everything back. It will cantilever over 3 feet or so, but nothing touches the mud flat. We also clarified to him, and you know, we put this out at the first meeting, that this is to launch kayaks and paddle boards. The Shellfish Constable heard from sources that there was going to be a dock here and there were going to be boats tied up here, and that's simply not true and never was the case. So based on that information, he was able to issue a follow-up letter to his initial comments, and he was basically reiterated what I had just told you, and that the work as it's designed now is out of his jurisdiction. You can see from the last paragraph right there, he says, "I do not foresee an impact to shellfish resource area with the amended project." So we thought that was very good progress. We also submitted this revised information to Division of Marine Fisheries, and Kate Frew was nice enough to review it again and issue a follow-up letter to her initial comments. And her comments were that Corps of Engineers standards are, they like to have a 1-to-1 height to width ratio, and that's the width of the pier in relation to the height above the marsh. And lately, the DMF has been suggesting that a 1.5-to-1 height to width ratio is more advantageous. And so we were able to easily accommodate that. We were trying to keep this to be a low, subtle feature. That's why we went with the 1-to-1, but it's only 3 feet wide, so it meant a 1.5 foot increase in height. So it's not a big deal, and we're happy to do that. So we now have a letter from Marine Fisheries that acknowledges our amendments, and it's consistent with their initial comments. So we've shortened up the pier a little bit. We have good comments from Shellfish and Division of Marine Fisheries. We also have a petition that was submitted from a group of neighbors that are actually in support of this project and projects like this. The regulations allow for small projects within a marsh, and they quote, "such as elevated walkways." And the reason that these are allowed is because if you don't have this sort of structure, well, the Surretts, the applicants, are going to continue to use this area anyway. And what that's going to lead to is a trampling of the marsh vegetation. It's going to require scrambling over the bank to access, getting into kayaks or paddle boards, and that's going to cause erosion on the edge of the marsh banking. This is the proper way to access the water across the marsh. The DEP has standards for this. We comply with the standards for, it's basically the standards for piers and small docks and floats without the small dock and float. So we comply with the performance standards of the regulations. We've satisfied the Shellfish Constable. We've satisfied Division of Marine Fisheries. We've shortened up the pier a little bit, at least clarified what the actual length is. And this is the best way to go. So we just want you to understand that this is for launching non-motorized craft, and there will not be a boat tied up to that, to the structure. I've talked to the applicant. He's amenable to having the commission make that a condition in the order of conditions, because we're not trying to pull any fast one. It's just, so that's fine with a condition like that. As I said in the first hearing, this is our first step. Because portions of this are lower than the mean high water, we do need to go to the folks at Chapter 91 to get a Chapter 91 license. The DEP has indicated that this may require a 401 water quality cert because they consider the post to be fill. I'm going to need to clarify that. And if we need a 401 cert, we'll get a 401 cert as well. So Anyway, I'd like you to consider this revised plan and the information that was provided by the different regulatory agencies and the positive petition submitted by the abutters, and we'd like to get an order of conditions to allow this project to go forward.
Thank you, sir. I'll now open it up, or at least at first, to public comment. So anyone who wishes to speak for or against the project at 28 King Philip Road may do so now by raising their hand or hitting *9 on your phone. Please keep the comments towards conservation-related issues. I don't know if we have anybody raising their hand.
We do, Co-Chairman Guller, there are actually 4 people with their hands up, and because of that, I just want to communicate to the individuals, there will be a 30-second, I'm not a 30-second, I'm sorry, a 3-minute time limit, just due to the size and scale of the agenda tonight. As always, you can submit your handwritten comments to the administrative record through conservation@gloucester-ma.gov. So now 5 with their hands up. I will recognize you each individually. Judy Ray to begin with. I'm going to click allow to talk and now ask to unmute, and you may unmute yourself.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can, you have the floor.
Hi, well, thank you. My name's Judy Ray and I reside at 25 King Philip Road, which is directly across from where the proposed pier is. I strongly oppose the construction of this pier, and I'd like to revisit some of my major concerns. First of all, that particular area where it's set to go out is at the narrowest section of the marsh, and it abuts the lowest section of King Philip Road. Flooding already occurs at that area, and any more deterioration of the marsh at this location would be disastrous to my property, and it would affect access to all the residents at the end of King Philip Road and Canonicus Road. And I feel putting pilings in could compromise the stability of the already fragile marsh. Alternative access already exists at Samoset Road, which is about a 3-minute walking distance from where this proposed pier would be. And there's also a public landing very nearby. This also would set precedents for other docks. That marsh is already divided into approximately, I think it's 6 pieces, but I wouldn't quote me on that. It's 5 or 6 pieces. And just because they were willing to sign that it would only be for kayaks, it doesn't for, if there's any other docks, other people would, I'm sure, want to put boats there. And now I did hear Mr. Manuel say that they were going to be using the stone wall that is on the marsh. There is no stone wall on the marsh. There is a few scattered rocks that make almost like a row, but it is far from anything that anybody could consider a wall. And I also have a problem with saying that, putting the pier up is a better alternative than still using the marsh and dragging kayaks across the marsh. So it's almost like, holding you with, if you don't let me put this pier in, I can still destroy the marsh. Well, that's not right. This is protected. This is a great area, and we love this area. And I strongly ask you to consider everything I've had to say, and please do not approve this. Thank you.
Just in
Thank
time,
you.
3 minutes. Thank you. So the next individual that I will recognize is Joseph Britannia. And first I will allow you to talk and then ask to unmute. And you have the floor. Go ahead.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
So my name is Joe Britannia. I live at 7 Concord Street in West Gloucester. My family owns the property at 13 King Philip Road. We bought the house in 1923. The building itself turned 100 years old this past summer. I've looked across that cove towards Nichols Candy for my 70 years, and it's been an uncluttered view of a beautiful and sensitive ecosystem. And my fear, and Mr. Manuel mentioned that the people in support, the phrase was projects, plural, like this. My fear is the plural. The marsh, as Judy said, has been subdivided and sold off to many parties. And it's my assumption that the intent is to provide water access to all of these owners. And I fear more structures ahead. I'm glad that they amended the initial petition, which made some reference to recreational vehicles. Now it's kayaks only, but who will enforce this? You know, if the inevitable proliferation of docks and structures creates neighbors policing neighbors, you know, that potentially leads to confrontation. So this is not like Little River. It's not the Annisquam River. It's a really small enclosed cove. I strongly oppose this petition, and I thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. And next is Kevin Flynn. Kevin, I will allow you to talk, ask to unmute, and you have the floor. We cannot hear you if you are speaking at this
I'm
time.
on board.
Now
There
we
you
can,
go.
go ahead.
Can you hear me?
It's in and out a little bit, but go ahead.
More
Nope,
out
you're-
than in right now.
Now we've lost you.
Fuck.
Oh, I think I
Hello?
can hear you.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I'm still here?
Yep, we've
Yeah.
got you. Go ahead.
Just
Okay.
go.
I live up on Uncas Road and I grew up in the neighborhood there. When we were kids, there were probably 20 of us, we would all use the water down there. The way we would get there was through Samoset Road. We'd carry our tubes down, we'd go down there swimming. We had no need for a dock of any sort. It's just about another 200 yards at the most to get from this proposed dock down to where you can go swimming and kayaking. The other piece is, although the proposal says kayaks, I don't believe that for a word. It'll probably be just a season before there were jet skis and boats. Last year and the year before, I don't know where they came from, but a bunch of jet skis came down and they just circle around a little piece of the marsh for hours on end, circling and circling. It would be nice to know if the proposed person actually owns jet skis that they may be using. So I'm completely against this. I don't see why they and their kids can't just go down and use the public area that's been used for the past 50 years. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that, Mr. Flynn. And okay, so next on the list is, it just says Christine. So Christine, your first name, last name, and address. First, I'm going to allow you to talk, and then, oh, I'm sorry, this is what happens. Go ahead, you're all set. Go ahead.
Okay, you can hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Christine Manning. I live at 15 Uncas Road, just up the hill from the proposed site. I am in agreement with everybody so far, and basically they have touched on everything that I wanted to say. So they've, but I just want to first, we're fairly new to the area, and I'm a little concerned as to why these properties are subdivided, a marsh. It's not a buildable lot. So for the city to allow these very fragile areas to be sold is very concerning, first of all. But that's a city thing, I believe. The second thing is as an avid stand-up paddleboard and kayaker, we do the same as everybody else is saying. There is access. There's 2 access points to get into the water, and we probably live the same distance from those access points as the Surratts do, and we don't find it very difficult to get to these areas to put our kayaks or our stand-up paddleboards in, which leads me to believe, as everybody else is saying, that it may not be for kayaks in particular. And then the only other point in agreement with everybody else is this is going to set a precedence for all the subdivided areas to add on docks. And this is a very pristine area. I love going there almost every day in the summertime and just paddling around. And to have this inundated with docks is just going to be a nightmare and very sad. It'll be a sad day if that happens. So thank you. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And so next will be Susan Hood. I'm going to allow you to talk and then ask to unmute. Go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes,
Hello.
we can. Go ahead.
Hi, this is Susan Hood. I live at 19 King Philip Road. My husband and I own this property and also 24 King Philip Road, which is the 1.5 acres directly abutting the Surratt's property. We have not lived here long. We have been visiting for a long time, but we really are in love with this area and we want to take care of the property we own and we want to protect it. We are worried, or we are concerned, this is not about kayaks, it's about jet skis and boats. And also that it is about multiple walkways or piers. As it's been mentioned before, if you look at the map, there are multiple wedges of property to our left. And we just are really concerned. Mill Creek, this should not be happening here. We understand that in the river, there are other possibilities, ways to build. This is just such a special, beautiful and fragile ecosystem. We are worried about this will set precedents and then it's a slippery slope. And thank you so much for hearing our concerns and thanks for just taking care of us.
Thank you.
Okay,
Anyone else?
thank you. And yep. So Susan Goodall, you have your hand up. I will first allow you to talk and then and you are already unmuted. Thank you. Go ahead.
I live at 15 Canonicus Road, so I'm right next door to the Surratts. And when my husband and I would kayak, we always took our kayaks down to Somerset. We didn't find it was difficult. It's a nice area to launch from. It's easy to get into and out of. And I just don't see the need to put a dock in for that purpose. That's all I have to say. I'm like the rest, I'm very concerned about the marsh and the flooding on King Philip that's already going on. And hopefully if this goes through, it won't make that flooding worse, but that is a concern. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And finally, David and Maureen Surratt, I will allow you to talk and ask to unmute. Go ahead.
Hi,
Hello, we can
So-
hear you. Go ahead. Yep.
great,
Name and
thank
address,
you.
please.
David Surratt, 13 Canonicus Road, Gloucester, Mass.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We too love the marsh, as I indicated last time. It is just a walkway. It is just for kayaks, and my wife does the paddleboard. We don't own a jet ski. My son does not own a jet ski. He had a jet ski. He doesn't live here. And he also sold his jet ski. He hasn't had his jet ski over there. It's not about jet skis. It's not about boats. It's about kayaks. It's just about accessing the water. We want to do the right thing here and make sure, you know, that we treat the marsh with respect. So it's, you know, again, and, you know, I know that other people have their opinions, but really, you know, I'm happy to sign up and agree to not having a float there and not having a jet ski and not having a boat. So I just want to make sure that I just answer the question. It's not about kayaks. It is. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Anybody else?
Okay, no, not that I can see at this time. That is everybody. I'm going to lower all hands and mute all attendees at this time, just because sometimes the mics are hot. And I think the public comment period is now closed.
Okay, with that, why don't we do roll call commissioner comments?
Okay, comments from commissioners and a roll call. Commissioner Charpentier.
Yes, I'd like to state that I oppose this project for several reasons. One is the precedent. I agree with the abutters or the neighbors that this will set a horrible precedent. I'm concerned about the fragility of the marsh, and if there truly is flooding in that area, somebody needs to do a study to indicate what this structure would further do to potential flooding. And I feel that we can put what we want in that order of conditions, but I question, are we going to be able to enforce that 2 or 3 years down the road? We have seen many things go in orders of condition, and people then just do what they want afterwards. So I am strongly opposed to this project, especially since there is, based on what other people are saying, a very obvious and easy to get to access for kayaking and paddleboarding.
Thank you, Commissioner Charpentier. Commissioner Cook.
Yes, I'm with Linda on everything that she just said. I'm against this project for the precedent it's going to be setting. There's absolutely no way that we could enforce anything, and we could put it in orders of conditions. People would still, go up, but I can see everybody else going out there, especially we don't allow people to have individual access when there's a common access, a few feet away. I'm dead set against this for the precedents that we'd be setting in the area.
Thank you, Commissioner Cook. Commissioner Gradwell.
I don't know what any future occupant of the house would do, but we got a very fragile shellfish area, and there's only one way to protect it. So I'm going along with the other group.
Sorry, again, I'm toggling between different screens tonight. It's unusual. So Co-Chairwoman Jackson, go ahead.
This is a tough one. I do not like the project. However, Adrian, I'd love to hear your comments on the fact that it looks to me like a lawful use of somebody's private property. I would want to add the condition when it was said no tying to the walkway, also no storage on the walkway. That's kind of my comments. I hate the precedent. And I have concern. I actually don't have that many concerns about the marsh because I do think a walkway is preferable to slogging through it. That's my say.
Why don't we finish with me before Adrian makes any comments, or is that okay? So I too dislike this project, but I too also like to listen to the other professionals that the state hires, which is Shellfish and DMF, which are basically saying our area of jurisdiction is pretty limited to outside of Shellfish. They've gotten a project outside of Shellfish. Now it's still in our jurisdiction. but those people have changed their opinion of the project. It's the boardwalk is, and I'm not happy with this either, but the boardwalk is a preferable means than trying to go through, or people walking from different directions into the marsh. It does create a pathway without actually walking in the marsh. I know a lot of people keep throwing the word around precedent. All these other lots could be developed in a similar way. So I recommend you get together and start talking to people. This gentleman bought this lot, someone else can do the same thing. I'd get some creative solutions going, maybe purchasing, getting together if you can do it, because again, this is a relatively lawful project from my point of view, as far as the Wetlands Protection Act goes. So whether we vote yay or nay here, this could still be an issue in the future, and something that needs to be looked at more from the private ownership side. Don't get me wrong, we'll always be here to see all these other, if they do get not developed with more piers and docks, there's little we can do. And the reason I mention that is, when I say little, there's a good chance these could go to appeal. Because again, the way I look at it, this is a meets the standards. Unfortunately, it does. And when we're bound by certain rules and regulations, and this happens to meet those regulations, and you've got two other agencies not necessarily agreeing completely, but they concur with that. So it's hard for us to vote yes, and it's hard for us to vote no, but you have to understand there's more complexities going on here, not just tonight, but moving forward, that we can't address. One of the things that they also did was raise it to a much higher point, which would allow grasses potentially to grow better than the older way, where we only allowed it to be about 2 feet, 3 feet off the marsh. That being said, I really don't, we'll see how the commission votes, but this technically is not far-reaching project based on the standards that are put forth by the Wetland Protection Act. So I would be nervous about what could happen in the future, and you'd have to watch that. But obviously those adjacent lots could be developed for similar use, but would also still come before us. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, can I jump back in? Because, we say, yes, it does meet the standards in the Wetlands Protection Act. But what we have to make sure that is it's fully understood that there is an access already in use in the adjacent area. So, there's really no need for this to go in here.
Completely agree.
Standard, but there's no need for it because there is an access already there.
I agree. But they could still use that as they do now and walk down it. So would we rather have a dock or a pier that protects the vegetation a little bit and allow them to use it? It's tricky. There's no good answer here. I hate to say it. But that being said, Adrian, do you have any closing comments before we put this to a vote?
I mean, I'll tie it up for you. I think that you all touched the high points here. The one piece is that the project, as it is presented, it does rise to the performance standards of the Wetlands Protection Act. In addition to that, the applicant did do their due diligence to try to appease the interests of the Division of Marine Fisheries and the Shellfish Constable, in spite of the fact that the project is not inside of their jurisdiction. But they were brought in to be a part of the discussion, and so they did certainly entertain that and make some changes that were that they approved and that they are pleased with. If there is an alternative use here, and that use is dragging boats, flat bottom or otherwise across the marsh, then yeah, absolutely, a catwalk is an improvement. I can see and appreciate and understand and see all over coastal Massachusetts the complaints and concerns about catwalks over marsh in general and mudflats as well. And a huge part of that is always attached to use. And the Conservation Commission does not have the ability to adjudicate or manage the use of a particular catwalk, float dock, or pier once it has been approved. That is not what we do. That lands significantly more within the jurisdiction of waterways. So having said that, the commission certainly is welcome to deny it. The question that I really have is what is, how would you write a denial? What would be the reasons for a denial? Because typically in a project, the denial is going to be for a lack of sufficient information or because the project does not rise to the standards. Excuse me.
Okay, Rob, any more? Any
No,
more
I
to
think
go on
that's
this?
about it.
I have one more question. If this walkway goes in, is this only for the use of the Surratts or can anyone use this?
Anyone, I would think that anyone that the Surratts allow to use it could use
Correct.
it.
It's private property.
Yeah, it is
Okay.
private.
So my answer to would be is no, not everyone can use it without, I would guess, without permission, like Aunt Jo said.
Yeah.
So with that,
Well, Mr. Chairman, let me just sort of follow up and have some, just sort of circle back with my thoughts. There's been, number one, again, there's been a lot of innuendo about the use of what's going to happen at this pier. And you heard Mr. Surratt just put all of that to bed in the most plain words that you can hear. There is no motorized craft here. There will not be a boat tied up here. So, and he's perfectly willing to have you put that in an order of conditions. With respect to enforcement, you know, every order of conditions that you write, there are conditions that have to be followed. And if a violation comes to light, you can issue an enforcement order and take action on that, either, you know, through the Conservation Commission or elevate it to the DEP or even higher to Superior Court. So, you know, the issue of how are we going to enforce it, that's something you have to deal with every single order of conditions that goes out the door. So we shouldn't be selective here. And then lastly, the notion of precedent is just, it's something that doesn't come into play at all here. Well, first of all, the commission has already allowed numerous piers, floats, ramps in all parts of the city. So to say that a project designed like this, which meets the performance standards, just like a project designed somewhere else that meets the performance standards, should not be approved, is being selective again. And, you know, I don't think that's fair to the applicant who has come before you and asked to be judged by the performance standards of your ordinance and the act. Every site has its own merits. There's no such thing as a precedent because every site has to be judged on the conditions that are present at the site and the project as it's proposed. So I just, you know, please dismiss the notion of precedent and please review this project with respect to the performance standards and how it is compliant and how we've relied on the other regulatory agencies and their input. We've improved the project and we think the commission should vote positively on this.
okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I don't know if you were, this was a tricky project. I don't know if there's any other comments from commissioners on this, one way or the other.
Only Commissioner Jackson here, only to say, Mr. Manuel is correct. I do worry about precedent, but it is not grounds for denial of this project. And he is correct. These applicants do deserve to be judged on the same merits as everyone else, and it is a legal use of their property. It meets the standards.
Okay.
That's my say,
Well,
okay?
I guess
If
unless
there-
anyone else has a comment on the board, the commissioners, we should move to close the hearing, I would guess, at this point.
Correct. Are there any other comments?
I'm going to jump in here just to say, among the attendees, there is somebody who, or it's Mr. Surratt. He does have his hand up and it's at the discretion of the chair because he is the applicant if he would like to respond. Any other attendees who may raise their hand related to this, I think they understand, having visited this before in a previous meeting, is that the public comment period is closed, and so we don't have the ability to recognize members of the public. And again, at the discretion of the chair, if he wants to recognize the property owners themselves.
As long as he's brief, please.
Okay. Mr. Surratt, I'm going to ask you to unmute. Go ahead.
Hi, thanks. I will be brief. I just wanted to make sure when you say there's access a few feet away, if they're talking about Samoset, the road that's around the corner, that is accessing over the marsh, over private property when people do use that. So I just wanted to make sure everyone was clear on that. That's not a public walkway. The other public walkway is over in Little River. But that isn't, that one at Samoset that's close by is private property and people walk over the marsh.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, then Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for NOI 0282732 at 28 King Philip Road.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call vote, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes,
Commissioner or Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jackson moves to approve the project for NOI 0282732 at 28 King Philip Road per the documentation and discussion regarding conditions, including that it is limited to non-motorized craft, which will not be tied to the walkway nor stored on the walkway.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call vote, Commissioner Charpentier,
Reluctantly and only because of the standards, yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Same thing. I hate this, but yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
yes,
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next up,
Thank you for your time this evening.
thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Notice of intent 28-2736, 1113 Harbor Loop, Senecal, applicant John Dick of Hancock Associates applicant, representative, sorry.
Co-Chairman Gullah, I did receive an email from the applicant's representative about 5 minutes before the meeting stating still have not heard anything back from the 401 water quality cert and Army Corps of Engineer process and working through that. So please continue to January 6th.
Okay. And Joe? You wanna move that?
Sorry.
Okay.
Commissioner Jackson moves to continue the project for NOI 0282736, 11 to 13 Harbor Loop to the meeting of January 6, 2021.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
yes,
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, notice of intent 28-2739, 330 Concord Street, Gloucester DPW, Lucas Perkins at Bayside Engineering representing.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good
Name and
evening.
address for the record.
My name is Lucas Perkins, Bayside Engineering, representing the city of Gloucester for NOI 28-2739.
All righty.
So we, since we last spoke, I have submitted the self-verification form to the Army Corps of Engineers for a general permit. I have not received any comments or a general permit number. I don't know if we need to rehash everything that is involved with this project, or if you all recall, it is to replace the superstructure and substructure of the bridge that carries Concord Road over Walker's Creek. we're maintaining the existing footprint of the structure as well as the profile to the maximum extent possible. So all impacts would be temporary. So in the previous meeting, there was a mention from the Division of Marine Fisheries that they would request that no in-water silt producing activity occur between March 1st and June 30th. I think we could easily accommodate that, as the only in-water silt producing activity would be the construction of the cofferdams and the dewatering, subsequent dewatering. Former Commissioner Femer had been concerned about drainage and any new water being introduced into the marsh. There is no drainage in the area, and there are no drainage structures proposed with the new construction. We also had some abutter concerns for soft-shelled crab and other species. Wasn't exactly sure where we stood on that. So at this point, we're really just waiting to hear back from the Army Corps of Engineers with regards to the general permit. So my request would be, pardon.
Thank you, sir. Whoop.
Oh, go ahead. Okay, Mr. Perkins, I just want to offer you the second date in January because I know the Army Corps is at least, will be at least 30 days. The second date in January will be the 20th. So the 6th or the 20th.
Yeah, I would, I had sent you an email, and again, this is, I was late to the party to request a continuance, so I thought it good to join in here and talk with you all. I think the 20th should work. If I do hear back from them before then, and I can alert you before the meeting, the prior Thursday, prior to the next meeting, and see if there's room on the schedule, would that be agreeable as well?
No, we have to make a decision as to where we are going to send the hearing tonight.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, then let's continue to the second meeting in January, please.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
With that, this is a public meeting, so we are allowed, we need to open it up for public comment. So does anybody in the public wish to speak about the project at, I'm sorry, 330 Concord Street? Any hand, raise your hands or hit *9 if you're on a phone.
There are no comments at this time.
Okay. I don't know, might as well do commissioner roll call comments just to make sure while we have this gentleman here.
Okay, sure. Comments from commissioners. Commissioner Charpentier,
No comments at this time.
Commissioner Cook,
No comments.
Commissioner Gradwell,
No comment.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
No comment.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
No comments.
Thank you.
Okay,
Okay.
we'll see.
Okay, thank you very much. Before I go, were there any other issues that I failed to address, or are we really just sort of waiting on the Army Corps and go from there?
Well, I think the Army Corps is going to cover the kinds of issues that the commission would like a little more information on. I'll put it that way. Their scope is significantly larger. And so when you have risen to the standards of the Army Corps, because they may ask you to make some changes or do some replacement mitigation or something like that. Their recommendations when they come back around are going to be something that will be easy for us to adopt because the act and the ordinance are obviously of a lesser scope than the federal.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
And related to that, before we close the hearing, there was comments from the public, I believe, relating to opportunities to, this is a unique turn and twisted area, the way the water approaches and exits on the other side. So I don't know, I don't have those notes in front of me, but I do believe there was a gentleman from the public who was concerned about a wasted opportunity, somehow related to the fixing that irregularity. Can't exactly explain it, but hopefully by the next meeting we would have found it.
I believe it was because there was some oyster bed plantings there.
Maybe that was it.
That rings a bell to me.
Yeah, and we
Yeah.
did actually hear from Division of Marine Fisheries. So they did make their comments and their request was for a time of year restriction for the work.
Which we're amenable to.
Okay, with that, Joe, do you want to move this to continue it to January 20th?
Certainly. Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 0282739, 330 Concord Street to the meeting of January 20th, 2021.
Charpentier seconds?
And a roll call vote, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
Yes,
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your time.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Have a good night. Next up, notice of intent 28-2741 12 Ocean Highlands, Rappa, Wayne Losey, applicant's representative, as Wayne Losey as the applicant's representative.
Co-Chairman Gullah, I do not see any representative for 12 Ocean Highlands among the panelists tonight. Mr. Losey did receive a panelist invitation at the same time that the rest of the group did. If you're an attendee member viewing the project and you're representing now the applicant, please feel free to raise your hand and I will promote you to panelist. Just as an update to the commission, after our discussion at the previous hearing, there has been no further submission from the applicant or their representative with respect to a new engineering plan or any kind of explanation of what the proposed work is going to be. There was a question into the conservation office from, I believe, the abutters about whether or not a site visit had taken place yet. The answer to that question, I'll answer it here in hearing, is that no, site visits have not been scheduled. We are waiting to see what the proposed plan is so that we can actually evaluate it. I will add to that the DEP did post significant technical comments to the project describing that it does not meet the performance standards of 310 CMR 10.33 through 8. Those are for Coastal Bank. The DEP does not agree with the Coastal Bank delineation, and significantly more information needs to be provided also to them. So at this time, without any representative to the project coming to speak, the next step for the commission is obviously by default to continue to the next regularly scheduled hearing, and we'll begin to pursue the enforcement strategy, because that was the expectation here. The project came through from enforcement.
Okay, thank you for that. With that, then I would assume we'd move to continue to the 6th.
Okay, Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 0282741 at 12 Ocean Highlands to the meeting of January 6, 2021.
Charpentier seconds?
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
yes,
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Harriet, here we go.
Okay, yeah, no, I get Harriet. I think John Judd is not available for a bit longer. I think we need to table. He's not in the room, I don't think. Check and see.
I do not see John on, you're right. Okay, we'll have to table.
I know he had mentioned, he sent me a text saying he was earlier today saying he might have another meeting jammed up. So I don't know if we table it, whatever we would normally do. I think we
We can
tabled it.
table the next two that would represent him and carry on through new business.
Okay. So we'll move to new business. First up is RDA 16254 Planters Neck Road, Cambridge Beach LLC, Meredith Fine at Cape Ann Business Law representing.
Oh, Meredith, I see you there.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
It's really great to see you all, and I'm glad you're all well.
Right back at you.
Thanks. I'm representing Cambridge Beach LLC, which is a family LLC. It's not a corporation. It's a couple of brothers own this property and have owned it for many years. And if Adrian could just show, if you could, just the photograph that goes with my application. Yeah, perfect. And so all they're asking to do is square off this living room area and remove these stairs. The entrance to the house is around the corner. So they're not doing any excavation, any filling. When they went to pull their building permit, the building inspector told them that they needed to come before you. But as I read the Wetlands Protection Act, they're not doing anything that requires your supervision. And so I respectfully request a negative determination.
Thank you. Adrian, but is this something we know about between the inspectional services or?
Yes, yep. This is a project that's a standard exterior within buffer zone that we generally capture through inspectional services.
Any concerns, questions?
No, I don't have any concerns about this particular project. I think it's going to be a couple-day project. And again, it's not digging, grading, filling, or otherwise altering the resource area, the buffer zone to the resource area. So.
Okay, I'll do roll call comments for the commissioners.
Sure. Comments. Commissioner Charpentier,
No comments.
Commissioner Cook,
No comments.
Commissioner Gradwall,
No comment.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
No comment.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
No comment.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. In that case, Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing.
Charpentier seconds.
The roll call vote, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes.
Thank you.
And Commissioner Jackson moves for a negative determination on RDA 1625 for Planters Neck Road.
Charpentier seconds.
The roll call vote, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes.
Thank you. I heard a little
Thank
bit
you so
of.
much.
You're
Have
all
a great
set.
holiday. Have a great holiday, everybody.
You
Yeah.
too.
Thank you.
And be
Thank
well.
you.
And Joe, you're gonna have to take over this one. I need to recuse.
I've got it. Okay.
I am
Next
stopping
up
video.
is NOI 0282747 at 32 Riverside Road. Taylor representing Taylor. And we're opening up the hearing. Mr. Taylor, are you available? Yes, you are, and you're unmuted. Excellent. Name and address for the record and a brief description of the project, please.
Thank you. Robert Taylor, 32 Riverside Road in Gloucester. As indicated, I'm both the owner and the applicant of this notice of intent. Just to give you a little background on the property. This is a single family home with a 16,000 square foot with frontage on the Mill River. Large part of the property is within the 100-foot buffer. Maybe the driveway area, the upper driveway and the front lawn, probably the only part that's excluding that boundary. But it is, the entire property is in the 200-foot riverfront area. It's a relatively slope lot. From the street, there's a gradual slope, but as it begins to get down towards the home and all the way down to the waterfront, the grade does increase significantly. My family has owned this property for the better part of 70 years. I'm the third generation owner. For the last 35 years, this property has been largely used as a summer residence. About a year ago, my wife and I made this our permanent residence. And now that we're living here, there's a number of longstanding issues with the house and the property that need improvements. I did want to point out something significant about the property. On the north side of the property, there is a significant amount of asphalt paved driveway, impervious material. It starts from the 2-car wide driveway at the top of the property, extends down through walkways leading to the front door, walkways that go along the north side of the house, all the way down to a lower access area, and a driveway area that you can see on the northern boundary that existed when there was a single car garage underneath the front of the home. That single car garage has been long since gone, and that area has been converted into basement living space. But this driveway remains. As you can see, it's rather large. There's a big turnout area. There's a granite retaining wall there that's terraced up to make that area relatively flat, considering the grade that it's on. So this has been a significant problem for decades for us. There's a large amount of storm runoff that runs down from the street level all the way through through this property, over that granite wall, and down into the lower part of the property, excuse me. So, it's been really difficult to remediate a lot of this stuff, given that slope and given that pervious material. We've had multiple washouts with beds, soil erosion, and the water tends to puddle at the very bottom of that driveway. And so that leads to problems during frost and thaw cycles, where we've had to repoint that wall multiple times. So we want to be able to remediate that big runoff problem as part of this project. That's a summary of the current conditions of the property.
Okay.
Looking at the project itself, I'm sorry, was there comment to be made there?
Nope, I'm just acknowledging. Go ahead.
Okay, great, thank you. So this project involves a major renovation to the interior of the house, the addition of first floor accessible decks, a screen porch, a shed, and an extension to the upper part of the driveway. And I'll go through each one of these project components separately. Adrian, if you could expand maybe and zoom in a little bit, that might help us see a little bit more of the things I want to describe. Yeah, perfect. That's much better. Thank you. So looking at the first floor accessible decks on the east side, or the Mill River facing side of the property, we are proposing a first floor accessible deck that will wrap around to the north side of the property. This will be built over a current ground floor accessible deck that is the east facing part of this deck. As you can see, there's a wooden deck extends out beyond that. So the length of this east facing deck will be the same length of the underlying current wooden deck that's ground level. But as you can see, it won't be as deep. So that allows us to continue to use portions of the lower deck as it exists today. The deck will wrap around to the north side of the property, where that deck space will expand greatly. We'll add a screened in 12 by 16 porch and a continuation of the deck that will allow us to access the whole deck space from the front lawn area and the driveway area. The areas underneath these north side structures is a roughly 5 to 6 foot asphalt walkway that starts from the driveway area and goes down through the north side of the house all the way down to the end of the driveway. So our anticipation is, in addition to removing the large driveway area, we'll also remove this asphalt surface underneath these north side deck and porch structures. The screened in porch will extend into an area of a combination of grass, that the whole area that's surrounding the driveway that's in a dashed line is a combination of perennial grass and mulch beds with cultivated blueberries. Some portion of that screen porch will have to eat into that area. It won't be entirely over the asphalt walkway to be removed. So we will have to relocate one, maybe two of the cultivated blueberry bushes that exist in that area into more of the open areas within that mulch bed. These blueberry bushes were planted by my grandfather over 60 years ago. They've been extremely well maintained. They are still actively producing berries. So we have a vested interest to make sure these bushes, as they're relocated, will be continue to flourish as they have for close to 60 years. Moving into the driveway areas we talked about, that whole area that's represented with X's, which is the mid to lower driveway area, will entirely be removed, and including the base materials underneath that, and that will all be replaced with permeable materials, largely perennial grass seeds, deep-rooted plantings, and mulch beds. And as you can see along the northern border, there's an indication of where some of those plantings will be. 2 along the area where we demarcate between the upper driveway and the removal of the mid driveway area, and then 4 along the northern border of the current driveway. Moving up into the other areas of the property, the area where that proposed shed is, it's a rectangular 12 by 16 shed. That is largely the area where it's flat through there. It's a more gradual slope. It's largely a grassed area. However, there is a 20-foot hawthorn tree that's right in the place where we need to put this shed. So that will be removed. As we remove that tree, we will plant 2 additional trees as shown on the diagram in the front lawn area. We mentioned that we need to remove the mid to lower driveway. The only utility of the driveway at this point, since the garage is no longer there, is really an area for us to store our 23-foot boat on a trailer in the winter. With removal of that driveway surface, we'll need a place to store that on the upper driveway area. And in doing so, we'll need to widen the driveway by 6 feet. So that'll afford us to allow the boat to be stored there and still have 2 car width space to maintain the space that we need for those cars today. So that's shown in that rectangular, gray rectangular box there, where we'll extend the upper driveway. Right there, yes. So the last thing I wanted to point out in this project, as you go down towards the coastal bank along the high water mark of the property, there is a rock revetment there. It's loosely strewn boulders, and the solid lines through that area above that bank is basically representing pressure treated timber, landscape timbers that are there. So this has been a relatively stable bank for us. We haven't had huge problems, but we have noticed over the last couple of years, there is beginning to be pockets of erosion underneath those timbers. And so we don't anticipate this to be a big problem, but we want to stay ahead of it. So those plantings there represent new deep-rooted plants we will put in place that's really meant to abate some of the erosion that's starting there and hopefully completely eliminate it. So the last thing I wanted to point out, if Adrian, if you could scroll a little bit toward the bottom so we can see the project calculations at the very bottom of the presentation. Yes, the project calculations. So with the addition of the shed, the screen porch, and that driveway extension, that brings us to a total of 576 new impervious additions. With the removal of the driveway and the asphalt areas, we're removing 1,504 square feet of pavement. And that gives us a total impervious reduction of 928 square feet. That concludes my presentation to the board.
Great, thank you very much, Mr. Taylor. I'm going to open this project up for public comment. Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to comment on the project for NOI 0282747 at 32 Riverside Road?
There are no members of the public to comment at this time.
Okay, then I will close the public comment period. And Adrian, do you have any concerns about this project?
Well, I don't necessarily have concerns about the project. It is very much mostly a deck project and plantings. The one thing that I want to point out to the commissioners who may want to consider this carefully is that what we have been submitted here as a project plan is an annotated survey plan. And typically for a notice of intent, you need either a land survey stamp or a civil engineer stamp. And in this particular case, because it is an overall net reduction and it is a redevelopment project, obviously, you may want to make the concession that you're going to accept a non-standard plan for this notice of intent and request for an order of conditions, or you may consider that it's important to always make sure that projects are submitted to you with the appropriate engineering or survey work attached to it. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Adrian. Okay, why don't we go to roll call comments from the commissioners? And I would like you to address Adrian's comments, if you can, please.
So Commissioner Charpentier.
I don't have any problem with this plan. I think that it was well put together. I like the fact that it's that reduction in impervious. It's a renovation, and I would hate to have this person have to go through a lot more expense with plans, where I think this is adequate.
Commissioner Cook.
I like it just the way it is. Don't have to do anything else. It looks great. And we get net reduction in impervious. So.
Commissioner Gradwell.
I have no problem with the plan as it is. I see no need for the extra expense. I especially like the idea of the plantings down on the river to then take out eventually removal of the pressure treated timbers that are so close to the river.
And co-chairwoman Jackson.
I also thought it was a well put together project. I'm pleased with the decrease in impervious surface. I would like a landscape plan, a little more detailed than what we currently have, I think would be a good idea. And I don't have any problem with the plan. My figuring is if there is an issue, we can go back and say that it was inaccurate information was presented to us. We do have to, since this is riverfront, however, accept the alternatives analysis first. That slipped my mind here. I trust everybody has read the alternatives analysis. And are there any comments on that first? Could we have a roll call, Adrian?
For comments on the alternative analysis, Commissioner Charpentier.
No comments.
Commissioner Cook.
No comment.
Commissioner Gradwell.
No comment. What can we ask more for than a decrease in impervious?
And co-chairwoman Jackson.
No comment.
Thank you.
In that case, I will entertain a motion to accept the alternatives analysis.
Charpentier moves to accept the alternatives analysis for this project, the 32 Riverside Road.
And Gradwell seconds.
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier.
Yes.
Commissioner Cook.
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell.
Yes.
Co-chairwoman Jackson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. So I don't recall anything in the narrative about the erosion control work. I applaud the solution, but I do not recall anything in the narrative about it. So perhaps with the landscape plan, there could be a brief description of that work to be done. And if that could be gotten to the agent, that then she can include it among the documentation.
Mhm.
Other than that, if there are no other comments, I think we can move forward.
Can we move, does it have a DEP number?
Yes, it does. It was assigned, I think, after the
Oh,
agenda came out.
after the
It's the-
agenda? Okay.
Today,
Yeah,
yep.
it's
Yep.
2747. But thank you for noticing that. Okay. Are we ready to close the hearing? Commissioners, any other comments? Okay, then I will entertain a
Gradwell.
motion. Okay,
Gladwell
yes,
makes a motion to close the hearing at
Carpenter.
32 Riverside Road.
thank you. Do I
Carpenter,
have a second? Okay, thank you.
Any roll call? Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes,
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes,
Thank you.
okay, then do I hear a motion regarding approving the project at 32 Riverside Road?
Charpentier moves to approve the project NOI 028-2747 at 32 Riverside Road with the aforementioned conditions of a landscape plan and a modification of the narrative to include the erosion control.
Mhm.
Gladwell second.
And a roll call. Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes,
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes,
Thank you.
okay. And we welcome back Chairman Gullah. Is he here?
He's here.
Thank you, Mr.
Excellent.
Taylor. Have a good night.
So I don't know if Mr. Judd got back. Do we know?
I do not see John Jett on the panel.
You want to
Or-
move to?
We can continue going. I mean, if he does not appear, then
Okay.
he'll appear.
So let's move on to notice of intent 28-2746, 132R Wingashiek Road, Pell et al. Bill Manuel of Wetlands Land Management representing.
Good evening, and this is Bill Manuel, Wetlands and Land Management in Danvers. And Alice Pell is logged on as a participant tonight. She and her family have owned this particular property for 66 years. And she will tell you that, over the years, they have watched the ocean shape the dunes and shape the shoreline. And, some years it gets bigger. The distance between the cottage and the water line got wider. Some years it got smaller, but it always sort of evened itself out until the last couple of years. And quite dramatically, you could see that photograph that's there, that aerial photograph. It shows an awful lot of space between the cottage and let's call it the dune scarp. And all of that has disappeared, including the cottage. The dunes were undermined so dramatic or eroded so dramatically that it first undermined the deck that was on the water side of the house, and that had to be removed. And then the ocean took a few more feet of it, and the house was now hanging over. The house was now undermined, so that entire cottage was removed this past summer. So it is no longer there. What Alice and her family would like to do now is to rebuild a home on the lot, basically as far back on the parcel as possible and in the highest location. So that would be in the upper right-hand corner of the property. And they even went so far as to inquire to the abutter to the right there, which would, to the south, I guess, is Essex County Greenbelt, and would they entertain a land swap or some purchase of that particular piece of property so she could move it even further back? And the answer was respectfully no. So we have a plan in front of you by Gateway Consultants. that shows a new house location. It's pushed as far back on the lot as the zoning will allow. And fortunately, it happens to be the highest point on the property. Now, all of the property is a coastal dune, so this house will be constructed on piles. You can see that, Adrian, if you can just show where the location of the existing cottage was. If you can just run your cursor over that. But anyway, it's right in the middle. There you go. That's where the existing cottage was. And so we've moved this back quite a distance from the original location. We've done soil testing out here, and no surprise, we found very good permeable soil. And Gateway John Judd has designed a leaching system right in the location where Adrian is showing you now. And that has been submitted to the Board of Health and approved already. So so we have the house on piles and we have the leaching field that's already approved. So what we'd like to do with the former house location, we obviously don't need the portion of driveway that leads down to the house. We're going to restore all of that. All of the debris from the house has been removed, and now it's basically just open sand. So we're going to plant all of that area with American beach grass. And then also across where the former house location was, we're going to install some snow fencing to encourage the dune to fill in those locations. And, you know, hopefully that'll provide some buffering to the, you know, the erosion activity. So it's not something that Alice wanted to do, but here we are. You know, after 66 years, it was quite a shock to see the house go in really a matter of just 2 seasons. And but here we are, and we're trying to make the best out of the situation that we have and preserve the use of this land for, you know, as long as Mother Nature will allow. Now, presently, the house is serviced by seasonal water because it is a seasonal cottage. It was a seasonal cottage. And since we're going to go through this upgrade, we more than likely will come back to the commission and have a separate notice of intent to install deep water. The reason it wasn't included on this particular project is we needed to, first of all, you know, speak with the other landowners. The access to this property is through an easement from the end of Wingersheek Road. So it does cross, I think, 3 other properties. And 2 of those 3, one's already serviced by deep water, and the other 2 indicated that they would be amenable to connecting into an arrangement like that. So we will most likely return to you with a separate notice of intent to install that deep water. But for now, we're just looking at the Alice's house lot. And, you know, it's consistent with what the commission has approved up and down Wingersheek. It's constructed on piles. It has a small utility chase to bring in the utilities and where the sewer would go out. So as I said, it's consistent with everything that's been going on up and down Wingersheek Road. So hopefully you can see your way to approve this, and Alice can get on with construction.
Thank you. My only comment, well, why don't we go right to public comment? Adrian, at this time, I'd like to open the project up for 132R Wingersheek Road for public comment. Anybody in the public who wishes to speak for or against may do so now. By raising, you can raise your hand if you're on Zoom, and you can use *9 if you're on your phone.
There are no members of the public to comment at this time.
Okay. Next, my first comment, and then I'll roll call comment through the commissioners, would be is the only thing I can't understand here when you show that original picture. Can you show that again? Back up one to the Google Earth. Yeah. So what I can't understand here, and I'm a little concerned about, is vegetation removal. It appears a significant amount of the vegetation that we are witnessing within that box is being removed. But I can't tell from, how much is being removed. And I don't know if it's thick, if it's trees, if it's shrubs. So the value of putting dune grass is obviously very important when you're really on the toe or the main dune. But as you move back, obviously you can see vegetation has taken over. To what extent has that been removed and does it need to be replaced? With that, I would open up for other comments now. Adrian, roll call.
So commissioners' comments, Commissioner Charpentier.
My question is, this is going to be on septic, right?
Yes.
That's correct, yep.
Okay, I could just point out where that is, where the septic would be,
It's going to go up here.
up in that area, okay.
Yep. Commissioner Cook. You're muted.
Yeah, I am. Okay. Yeah, I've got a concern, especially with the dune grass. I'm very familiar with the area. And we know that's all come out. But I have, and I don't even know the best way to say that, the property adjacent to it, where they have the easement, 155 Wingershik. When I had to go down there, I actually got permission from the owner to go through his property. And his property is sitting right on top of the cliffs, right on top of the dune that's getting eroded.
This one, yeah.
Right. And he's only got like one car length from the road to the front of his house. I have a real fear about some further eroding along that section, going to force us to move the driveway and stuff backwards. And I don't know how well that easement's going to work going forward. So that's something I'm just aware of, because that whole situation down there is pretty bad. I don't think the putting the beach grass down at the bottom is going to do anything. For whatever reason, the Essex River is getting filled in rapidly. And I think we're going to continue to see that erosion along there. I don't have a problem with the plan as it's presented. With that exception, I think that dune grass is going to be useless. And I'm really concerned about the access getting into the house and the property next to it because of the erosion. It's like I said, that house sitting next to it is in the same situation that Alice is in, or was. And that's going to alter, access and everything else to the area. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Cook. Commissioner Gradwell.
I was surprised not to see any beach access built into this plan. You can see on the original Google Earth that there was a path leading directly from the house to the beach. And are they going to do the same this time, or are they going to build a walkway, or is this just going to be ignored?
I'll leave that to the applicant's representative to respond to, but a lot of that has to do with the conditions on the site now. Co-chairwoman Jackson.
No additional comments.
And co-chairman Gullo.
No more comments at this time.
At the chair's
Okay.
discretion, the applicant does have her hand up in the attendees section and obviously would like to speak.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Name and address for the record.
My name is Alice Pell, and I'm a co-owner. Actually, the house has been owned by 3 separate families and now 2 families although we occupy it, it act is a single family dwelling. The question about the vegetation, actually the land there slopes quite a lot, and the much of the vegetation, which has an important role in preventing further erosion, is sort of woody vegetation. And we're going to be as careful as we can be during construction to make sure that that is not disrupted more than is necessary. And we will take the points about the dune grass and try to introduce other plants that will do a better job of holding the existing sand. About the easement, yes, we've considered a lot of the problems. The way the easement is written is non-specific for the exact road that exists, and the road could be oriented to go back further if that is necessary. Our part of that is a very small part, and it is going to involve being in working closely with our neighbors, and we have already started conversations with them about that.
Okay.
If there are other
I-
questions about that part, as a child, we used to spend quite a lot of time actually planting dune grass in front of a much longer distance between, or much more grassy area in front of the house.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay.
One more comment. This is Bill Manuel. One more comment to address Barry. There is a seasonal stairway that the owners installed to get to negotiate that sort of steep scarp face. So that's how they're going to get down to the beach.
Okay. What did we leave off? It seems a little mixed up. My comment still stands, Mr. Manuel. I think my biggest concern still is I'm not seeing the extent of what we have for vegetation. I mean, I can see in that Google Earth, there's a significant amount of vegetation between the house and the septic system that will be removed. And my feeling is, you know, in the driveway, and what's that right there? Is that an extension of the house again, a garage or something?
No, that's the leaching field.
So what's on the other side?
I'm sorry. Where the cursor is now is the leaching field.
I got that. What's
This
that?
is the new parking area.
Okay.
There's the access drive, and as soon as it comes to the, crosses onto the lot, that's the new parking area.
Okay. Well, I am still extremely concerned about the amount of vegetation removal. I don't think it can be replaced simply by dune grass. I mean, we're talking, even the applicant just said she has a significant amount of woody vegetation up there. I'm going to say almost half of what they have on the ground out there is going to be gone from this project. So I'd like to see some sort of deeper mitigation plan to offset. I'm going to channel my inner John Feener here and, really like to understand the canopy layout and what are we losing, not just in terms of managing the dune, but there's a significant of habitat in there, I would guess, as well.
Well, we can certainly clarify where basically there's two sort of habitat or vegetation types there. And off the primary dune's primarily vegetated by the dune grass. And then once you get to the easterly side of the former access driveway, it does turn to more of a woody vegetation composition. A lot of it is bittersweet and poison ivy that's in there. And but what we can do is give you a more clear picture of where the beach grass ends versus the woody vegetation. and give you some information on restoring. Some of it is going to be impacted by construction, but Alice will tell you this is intended to be a zero maintenance type of property. So areas where we can either augment existing woody vegetation or replace it after construction. I'll get you more details on that.
I would appreciate that. And again, I'm not here to direct. I'm just here to show, what I feel is, I would be, maybe a planting plan, maybe at least better understanding of where the canopy is exactly on the ground there, and where is it going to be afterwards at a minimum. So we can say, okay, there's a significant pocket being left here or a pocket being left there that could, deal with some habitat issues for us. Never mind the, ancillary benefit of roots and stabilization.
I think I'm hearing John Feener through you.
Okay, I'm going to help being second, John. Can we count the number of 6-inch or bigger trees that are going to be removed between the leaching field and the house and the construction area, and see what the impact on that would be? Subsequently, there's going to be a whole lot of leaching field that could be a forest.
Right. And I understand your applicant is trying to push that thing out as far as they can to get away from the problem they were dealing with. I get it. But, it looks to me a little bit right now at the expense of the resource. But we also removed the house, which is a benefit. Yep.
Chairman Gullah, I just want to express, since this is in Riverfront, that is a plus for moving it as far back as possible. And B, I don't think we've addressed the alternatives analysis.
Oh, I didn't know. I thought it was Coastal Dune. I didn't know it was Riverfront.
It's both.
Okay, I missed that one. So, good point. All right. So let's move forward first with, since we've already gone through the comment period, let's move first with the alternatives analysis. If you want to give a quick blurb on that, Bill, before we vote on that.
Yep, basically we pushed this as far away from the mean high water line as possible. And we even went to the extra step of exploring getting it farther away with Essex County Greenbelt. So we have pushed this as far away as possible.
Okay. So with that, then, Adrian, can we move forward with, can we get a motion, I'm sorry, and Joe, to approve the alternatives analysis?
Commissioner Jackson moves to approve the alternative analysis for NOI 0282746, 132R Wingersheek Road.
Charpentier seconds?
And a roll call vote, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes?
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall, Commissioner Gradwall, are you with us?
Oh.
You're muted.
Yes.
Thank you. Co-Chairwoman Jackson
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so the alternatives analysis was accepted and approved. Again, I think we have some vegetation issues we need to work out here. So the next question would probably be, where do you want it this January 6th, January 20th for the continuation?
Let's put it down for January 6th and we'll see where we fall with the snow and site access and getting things done through the holidays. And if we need to push it out, we'll push it out. Okay.
And Joe?
Okay, then Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 0282746 at 132R Wingersheek Road to the Commission's meeting on January 6, 2021.
Charpentier seconds?
Roll call vote, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I suggest we do the amendment since Mr. Manuel's here now. So with that, we got amendment 28-2712, 21 Thatcher Road, Weiser. Bill Manuel at Wetlands Land Management representing. Mr. Manuel.
Yes, Bill Manuel. The commission issued an order of conditions this spring to do a renovation of the home and construct a small addition at the ground level. The owners have now had time to sort of consider what their needs are for living there permanently, having family visit, maybe stay over. And they're realizing that they need a little bit more space. So rather than sprawl out on the lot, they chose to add a second floor. And so we have to amend the order of conditions to reflect that. We didn't want you to come in with it, or we didn't want to come in with a certificate of compliance showing a 2-story home when you only approved a 1-story small addition. So this is also in riverfront area. Obviously, the best alternative for a change in scope like this is to go up on the foundation instead of go out. And so that is what our alternative exploration was. So if you need to make a motion on that, that would be appreciated. But that's basically all I have to say, is that we're within the work area. We're on the same footprint. We're just going up a story.
Okay, so you're not doing the addition at all. You're just going up.
No, we are doing the addition as well as going up.
Okay.
Yep, that's approved.
Yep, no, I hear you. Okay. You made it seem like it was and or. I get you. I just want to make sure. Okay, let's open up for public comment. See if anybody in the public wishes to speak towards the project for or against the project at 21 Thatcher. You can raise your hand or you can *9 if you're on a phone.
No comments at this time.
Okay. Moving on with that then, why don't we do roll call commissioner comments?
For commissioners, Commissioner Charpentier,
No comments?
Commissioner Cook,
No comments.
Commissioner Gradwell,
No comment.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
My only comment is, does this require an alternatives analysis?
Another one?
Another?
I don't know.
I
don't think so.
I don't think it does.
Okay, good.
I did mention it in my narrative that it is in riverfront, and this would be the best alternative.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, you can vote on it, I suppose.
Okay.
Co-Chairman Gullah,
Yes.
Okay.
comments.
Then would you like me, Rob, would you like me to move to accept the alternatives analysis?
Oh, we're doing that? I thought we didn't have to, but yes, please do.
Okay. Commissioner Jackson moves to accept the alternatives analysis for the amendment 0282712 at 21 Thatcher Road.
Charpentier seconds?
And a roll call vote, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes.
Thanks.
So now let's move to accept the amendment. We need to
Okay.
close it here.
Commissioner is this a public hearing? Yes, because we did open up. Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for amendment 0282712 at 21 Thatcher Road.
Charpentier seconds?
And a roll call vote, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes.
Thank you.
And Commissioner Jackson moves to approve the amendment 0282712 at 21 Thatcher Road.
Ms. Charpentier seconds?
And a roll call vote, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
Yes,
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Happy holidays. We'll see you next year.
You
Thank
bet.
you. The
Thank
same.
you. Thank you. Next up, notice of intent 28-2745, 10 Harriet Road, Mohan John Jada Gateway Consultants representing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. For the record, John Judd, engineer with Gateway Consultants. Just to refresh your memory, we were in front of the commission on the 2nd of December for this proposed addition with an above-ground pool and decking at Harriet Road. And at that time, we were waiting for the final number, which we've since received from DEP. There was some questions relative to the drainage, and there were some other comments. Obviously, the abutters spoken and had some concerns as well. And I thought we addressed those during that time. And but I do want to update you with what has been done to the plan, any changes that were made. We did, as requested by the city engineer, we included a test pit for the proposed rain garden that's going to be accommodating the roof runoff with this proposed addition. And that would not only deal with the runoff, but also add additional mitigation plantings. So the proposed project would incorporate, would add about 869 square feet of impervious area. And we have proposed 1,200 square feet of mitigation planting with the additional 100 square foot rain garden that puts us over 1,369 square feet. So it's more than 100%, close to 200% of the proposed impervious area. So that was in addition to the DEP file number. Those are the items that I think we were waiting for, and I can answer any questions at this time.
Okay, why don't we open up for public comment? Anybody wishes to speak towards the project at 10 Harriet Road, for or against, may do so now. You can do that by raising your hand if you're on Zoom, and if you're using a phone of some fashion, *9.
Okay, Chairman Gullah, at this time, there are 2 hands up, and I will take them in order. Sue and Tim Rose. First, I will allow you to talk and then ask to unmute, and the floor is yours for 3 minutes, please.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Hello? Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello. Hi, my name is Tim Rose, 12 Harriet Road, direct abutter to 10 Harriet Road. At our last meeting, we spoke about our concerns with the water level in the wetlands adjacent to 10 Harriet Road. And this is concerning, especially after the drought summer. We've lost several, as I spoke before, as my wife did, we lost a lot of trees in that area, and they weren't just blown over, they were uprooted. So there's a reason why that's either flooding or not draining properly. We also lost another tree 2 weeks ago. We went right across Harriet Road. So with the project roughly doubling the footprint of the existing structure and having the entire lot in the buffer zone according to the GIS map dated 7/23/20, there should be a grave concern for this project in affecting our wetlands directly adjacent to that for our property for protection. We also brought up the driveway issues during the last meeting, and the second letter we sent to the commission included with a picture showing the driveway in 2007 that shows picture of grass between the driveway and the wetlands. So the picture of the current repaved and enlarged driveway shows no grass in the enlarged further towards our wetlands. And we're in the process right now because from my initial plot plan in '84 that Hancock Associates did showed the initial driveway that was over into the property line. I know it's an issue with Board of Appeals or whoever, but we're in the process of getting that lot line surveyed to make sure that there's encroachment or not into our property. We also want to make sure prior to the project that issue gets resolved.
Are you on the left side or the right side of this?
I actually, if you face the house, my property runs from Harriet Road, runs parallel to that property, 400 feet back from Harriet Road,
Are you on the right or the left, sir?
right side.
Okay, so you're on the wetland side.
I own the pond.
Okay, you're on the wetland side.
Yeah, I actually
Correct.
own half that pond and probably 3/4, and the other quarter is owned by the Mosleys next to us.
Okay,
All
thank
right.
you.
Yeah, no problem. So also, I'm just curious, has the DEP any comments regarding this project so far? Does anybody have an answer to that?
Well, we're waiting for you to finish talking so we can finish.
No,
our
no,
public
I'm just curious. So my biggest concern is the size of the project, obviously, and detrimental to our wetlands in that area. I just don't see the need of such a large project on a small piece of property. And it kind of bothered me to the point of the extent of the damage to the wetlands adjacent to it.
Okay,
All
thank
right?
you, sir.
Thank you. And thank you for your time, and thank you for all the volunteers. I appreciate it, and thanks for letting me speak. And I know it's been a long night.
Thank you, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Is
I'll
there
just
another
take-
hand up, Adrian?
Yeah, there is another hand, but sorry. I'll answer that DEP file question quickly. Just to say that, no, there are no comments on the dashboard from the DEP for this particular project. It acknowledges the filing date, the notice number, the applicant, filing type is a buffer zone, and nothing further. So the next individual whose hand is raised is Denise Rolu. And I'm sorry if I've said that wrong. First, oh wait, your hand is now down. You would not like to speak. Oh wait, now it's up. Okay. I'm gonna try anyways. And ask you to unmute. Did you want to speak at this time during public comment period?
Yes,
Did-
please.
Okay, go ahead.
Hear me? Thank
Yep.
you. Hi, my name is Denise Rouleau and I live at 7 Michaels Lane. So I am on the back end of the project. And I am on the other side of the Calamos, which is at 5 and 6 Michaels Lane. I just, want to raise the concern that I have a drainage easement that goes through my property on both sides of my property where water from the Harriet Lane property comes down through the Calamos. And as the other commenter mentioned, even in the Calamos drainage area, some of the trees have come down over the last few years because of the wetness that's been happening through that drainage area, the increased water. And so I'm just concerned that, it might impact my, I have a dry basement, it might impact my basement. And I just want these things to be looked at. It also sort of comes through the Calamos, the 5 and 6 Michaels Lane, and takes a corner over, my property, and then ends up, going out to the ocean. And I just get concerned if there isn't enough buffer there and enough losing that, saturation within the property could pose a problem to me and my neighbors. So I just would ask that you would take consideration of that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. So, commissioners, we have a project before us. I know the neighbors seem to be a bit concerned. My only, obviously when we get a project, we mainly or focus is on the actual project. I don't know how, and maybe the applicant's representative can explain. So my only concern would be is the roof runoff and the volume of roof runoff. Could that in any way discharge? Is it being recharged into the ground? And if so, could that impact the wetland in one way? I guess I don't understand the management, stormwater management yet, if it's even required on this project.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, we are required under the local stormwater ordinance to address the additional impervious area under the Gloucester Drainage Ordinance, which we have with the infiltration into the ground. As you know, all the wetlands, for the most part, off the property. There is a pre-existing drainage issue in the neighborhood. I think everyone's well aware of that. Just driving down Harriet and right at the intersection with Grapevine, there's, you know, you used to have ponding in the road there. So there's an existing situation. It's our responsibility to not increase or exacerbate the flooding issues that take place there. So what we're doing is recharging this rainfall that comes off the proposed roof into the ground, so we don't have additional peak rates of runoff during stormfall events. That's our responsibility as part of the ordinance. Obviously, you know, when it rains, it's going to rain, whether it's lawn or if it's a roof. It's going to rain the same amount, but it's our responsibility that the peak rate of runoff does not increase between existing and proposed conditions. And with the addition of over 150% of mitigation planting, as well as the rainfall rain garden, that will actually improve the situation with the additional planting. Right now, that's all lawn, which has a runoff coefficient that is higher than a vegetated with shrubs and so forth. So that's that's a twofold improvement with the mitigation that creates buffer to the wetland area, which is all off-site, in addition to the runoff curve coefficient that's associated with shrubs as opposed to lawn. So again, we're not making it worse is the idea.
Okay. All right, Commissioner, why don't we do roll call comments on the commissioners, Adrian?
Sure. So Commissioner Charpentier.
Just one question about the driveway. Someone mentioned that the driveway had been enlarged. Was it enlarged for this particular project, or was it enlarged previously?
I believe
So-
that, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, if I could, the way I understand it, and what the current homeowner has said, that driveway's been there for 50 years in its same fashion. It was recently resurfaced, according to the Mohans, and that's really all I can add to it. I think it was substantiated with some Google Earth pictures from going back several years. But I can say that it was recently resurfaced. Whether it was enlarged, that was certainly not the case according to the current homeowner.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
Commissioner Cook,
No comments.
Commissioner Gradwell, we hear you.
Barry. Looks like he froze.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
let's
he
go
is.
with no.
Okay. Co-chairwoman Jackson
No comment.
and co-chairman Gullo.
I do have two comments. Basically, this is similar to the first project tonight, I think, or one of the earlier ones. I don't like it. I see where it could be some problems, but when it comes to permitting and the Wetlands Protection Act, I think it meets all the criteria. And it's one of those projects that the neighbors need to know that they can do their due diligence, but we can't go over there and direct what may or may not happen to drainage and other properties. All we can really do is look at the project before us, see if it meets or it gets to the level of meeting the Wetlands Protection Act and its protections. But we can't, do much more than that. And unfortunately, it's not a great situation. My hope is that these new drainage and planting will help alleviate some of the flooding problems. But again, I'm not an engineer. But otherwise, to me, it unfortunately, it's one of those projects where I see the problems, but it's a permittable project to me. Barry, you back?
Yes, I am.
You have
No
any
comment.
comments? Okay. So you
No
heard from
comment
me.
at this time.
So with that, then, I don't know, Ann Joe, if you want to put a motion out or if anyone wants,
Certainly.
Adrian, did you have anything to add?
No. Were you asking me or Adrian?
Adrian?
Thanks for asking. No, I don't have anything particularly to add to this. I do want to point out that stormwater management, offsite stormwater management does come into the concerns of abutters for projects of a much larger scale. Single-family home projects under the purview of the Wetlands Protection Act just do not scope large enough to be requiring DEP stormwater oversight. That's more in the commercial industrial realm where you can have that conversation because you're talking about, you know, thousands of additional square footage. So, you know, where we're talking about standing water here, and also, you know, something that really stood out to me about this site is that the house that we are looking at right now, number 10 Harriet Road, is a flat site and it's directly next to the resource area and it's below all of the other sites. It's actually in the low spot. I mean, this is the place where the pond is going to grow to. So the idea that the abutters are going to be impacted by some kind of effect of the rising water of the wetland resource area or the change of the shape of the wetland resource area is, and that 10 Harriet Road would not be, is difficult to believe. So, you know, again, there is constant drainage issues, just as the applicant's representative said, over at Grapevine Road. And if it were a larger scale project, then certainly we would be considering it. But because this is a single family home and single family home projects are exempt under the Wetlands Protection Act of the DEP stormwater standards. So they have done their due diligence to try to manage aerial and sheet flow water so that they're keeping it on the site and they're not making any matters worse for anybody else or running off into the resource area as it currently stands. And I don't think there's anything more that you can ask.
Okay, thank you for that. And Joe, you want to take it from there?
Okay. Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for NOI 0282745 at 10 Harriet Road.
Charpentier seconds?
And a roll call vote, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
Yes,
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chair Mangala.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jackson moves to approve the project at NOI 0282745 at 10 Harriet Road.
Charpentier seconds?
And a roll call vote, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
yes,
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Abstain.
and Co-Chair Mangala.
Yes.
Thank you. Let me make a note.
Okay, next up, notice of intent 28-2744, 6 Sandy Way. Ms. Aroni, applicant with John Judd Gateway Consultants as the representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Once again, John Judd representing the Mucciaronis, and this is another project where I believe the only outstanding item was the DEP file number, which has been posted and by DEP with no comments that I saw. So they can answer any questions you might have for this proposed addition at 6 Sandy Way.
Okay, so it was mostly a septic system, correct, in addition, or?
Yeah, it's an addition with a septic system, an upgrade for the septic system. So that's a passive sand filter that's been approved by the Board of Health. And the project has been approved by the city engineer as well.
Excellent, okay. So we'll open up for public comment. Does anybody in the public wish to speak for or against the project at 6 Sandy Way? You may do so by raising your hand or pressing *9 if you're on a phone.
No comments at this time.
Okay, then why don't we move to, again, we've already reviewed this project. Why don't we move to commissioner comments? Roll
Comments,
call vote.
Commissioner Charpentier,
No comments.
Commissioner Cook,
No comments.
Commissioner Gradwall,
no comment,
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
No comment.
and Co-Chair Mangala.
No comment.
Thank you.
So let's close public comment and Approve.
Okay, Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for NOI 0282744 at 6 Sandy Way.
Charpentier seconds.
Any roll call vote, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
Yes,
Co-Chairman Gullah. Oh, sorry. Out of order.
Yep. Yes, no,
Co-Chairwoman
that's fine,
Jackson.
yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes.
Thank you.
And just again, I want to just brief discussion period. I want to get in the fact that, again, this was a betterment to this situation here because of having the septic system replaced in such a manner with a better one. So just want to get that in there.
Sure. Commissioner Jackson moves to approve NOI 0282744 at 6 Sandy Way.
Any roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
yes,
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Abstain?
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes.
Thank you. Let me make a note.
Okay. You're all set, Mr. Judd. Have a good night.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a good night.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you all.
And the last item on the matter, on the agenda.
Certificate of compliance.
Yeah, Mr. Mason, you stayed through it all.
Yes. He's an Iron Man.
Longevity.
Look at you.
Is it bedtime already?
Close.
So what do we have?
This request for certificate of compliance in 98 Magnolia, I did spin by there. This is a project that actually attracted a lot of attention in permitting. And I think in the early stages of development, but now that it is kind of come through the other side, it absolutely looks as per the plans and per the order of conditions. And I don't have any questions or thoughts.
Excellent. Commissioner comments? You want to do roll call, just to be safe?
Sure, comments, 96 Magnolia. Commissioner Charpentier,
No comments.
Commissioner Cook,
No comments.
Commissioner Gradwall,
no comment.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
No comment.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
No comments.
All right, this is consent permitting. There is no hearing. You just move to issue the certificate of compliance.
Okay, Commissioner Jackson moves to issue a certificate of compliance for 0282642 96 Magnolia Avenue.
Charpentier seconds.
Any roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
Yes,
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Mason. And it looks like Mrs. Mason or Miss Mason.
That's Mrs. Mason.
And we appreciate your staying through the duration.
Thank you
for
very
that.
much. And Merry
Good luck.
Christmas to all.
Merry Christmas.
And
Good
same.
luck.
Happy New Year.
You.
All righty.
All right, Dean. That's the end of the show.
All right,
Excellent.
well done.
Wow.
Someone want to move to adjourn? Unless you
Wait,
have something.
let me just.
No, we
connect-
have not seen the puppy yet.
Oh, you want me to get him?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll go get him. Hold on. I do want to talk a little bit about the issue date for all of these permits is December 31, which they should be out in time. I just think that you should know the City Hall offices and your ability to access them is probably going to change over the next week or two. There's a chance I may end up going back to the old style of coming around to all of you for signatures on this particular set. That would happen on the week of the 28th, 29th, 30th, just as a heads up. I have no idea if anybody's going to be out of town or if you have other travel plans or something like that to keep in mind, just let me know now. And I know
well,
Angela-
see, I think you
What's
should
that?
get the signature from Ann Joe before the
I know.
28th.
I'm gonna go see
You
you
can-
first.
You
Yeah.
can make me last and just stay here.
Yeah.
Adrian, currently we're planning, currently we have tickets for the 29th to come home.
Okay.
I can't 100% guarantee that.
Okay.
I will try to remember to let you know if we have a change in plans.
Okay. Poor
Oh,
thing.
look at this. Oh, my word. What
Hold
a
on.
cutie. How old is the puppy?
Oh, there we go.
12 weeks old,
How many?
12 weeks,
Okay.
just about 12 weeks.
Oh, what a sweetheart.
Oh, he's so sweet. He's gonna be
What's
a
his
big
name?
scout.
Hey, Scout.
What do you think,
How are
buddy?
you, pup?
Are you sleepy or what? He's like, why haven't you put me to bed yet, Mom? What's going on?
Who does he get to sleep with?
He gets to sleep in a crate in my room. I'm not like on the dog in bed stage.
Since we're showing off puppies,
Oh yeah.
little moon pie. This is moon pie.
That's moon pie?
That's moon pie.
Nice.
Go ahead. I'll leave you alone.
Now Bill's going.
Bill got one? All right.
Like our Christmas party. That's all we get, guys.
You got one, Bill? Let's see. There it is.
Oh,
Oh, baby. What's his name? Her name? Its name?
You're muted.
You're muted.
I feel like that should be on every Christmas card. 2020. You're muted.
I can't hear you, Bill.
Yeah.
There you go.
Her name is Winnie and she's a lab,
Oh yeah.
she's a lab golden.
Oh nice.
Oh.
There you go.
And
Yes.
Joe used to have the cutest little dog, Cinnamon.
yes, I did.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
a good
she
name.
But he's
Sweetheart.
long gone.
Sorry.
That's okay.
All right, everybody. Well, let's have a great holiday as best you can. Be safe.
Yeah, and stay tuned
Thank
on
you. Same
permit
to you.
and your
Someone
ability.
move to adjourn.
Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Before I hang
Yeah.
up, I want to give props to Dave Sargent here. Dave, I see you in the attendees, and he did the long grind with me today. We also had the Open Space Committee meeting at 4 p.m. So Dave, staying in there for 5 hours of public meeting, well played. Thank you. Thank you for
Thank
your,
you, Dave.
we're gonna get
You
you
have a
on.
great holiday too.
Thank
All
you.
right, everyone.
Everybody have
night.
a good Christmas.
Yeah.
Do we move
Okay,
to adjourn?
Commissioner-
Did someone move?
Commissioner Jackson moves to adjourn.
Charpentier
Excellent.
seconds.
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
No.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes.
All right, everybody,
All
take
right,
care.
good night.
Happy holidays.
Good holidays. Stay safe.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Good night.
Bye now.
You weren't busy enough that you decided that you need a dog to add to the confusion.
It's chosen chaos. It's happy chaos. Come on. And a little needed distraction. What are you gonna do?
Well, it'll be a good distraction trying to house train, toilet train the dog.
You bet. You
Get
bet.
it all organized with the kids. Now you're gonna try with the dog.
Yep. You're absolutely right. Got to just do it all at once. Here we go. All right. Take care, Barry. Be well. Okay.
Merry Christmas.